When I first moved to San Francisco from Kansas City in 1990, it didn't quite stick. I wasn't quite prepared. And so after a few weeks, I had to pull back, and I ended up moving in with a buddy of mine who lived in Phoenix, Arizona. So I got a job in Phoenix for a little while and made a little money, and I was trying to get myself together to give San Francisco a second try. But while I was living and saving money in Phoenix, I bought this little pickup truck, a little used pickup truck, and a telescope because I was getting interested in astronomy then. And one night, I was bored. I thought, well, I'll go for a drive. I'll go out into the desert north of Phoenix and see what this telescope can do. So I go driving out there, and I had packed a cooler of supplies and took off. It was pretty late in the night. And I must have gotten, I don't know, 60, 70 miles north of Phoenix. Just completely pitch black, going over these gently sloping hills in the middle of nowhere. It was a crystal clear night. It was going to be a great night for stargazing. And I come up over this hill, and I'm starting to see the glow over the hill of approaching headlights. But when I crested the hill, there was actually 4 headlights coming straight at me. Somebody was passing somebody on a hill. And, and any other time in the middle of that desert, in the middle of the night, it would have been, risky, but not that risky. It's just that night, I happened to be in the lane. So I had a split second to react. And I jerked the steering wheel to swerve out of the way. I had to get off the road. And I knew that as soon as I did that, I jerked it too far. I overcompensated. The truck slid and skidded back, and I tried to counter steer, but it was too late. I lost control of the truck. The truck tumbled over, as far as I can tell, one time at least, but it was just a crunch of metal around my head, and suddenly everything was quiet. I had a death grip on the steering wheel. The windshield had popped out, and the 2 cars that had passed me, they just kept on going. I'm not even sure they realized what had happened. So I'm sitting there holding onto the steering wheel and realizing I'm still alive. I crawl out of the car onto the hood of the truck, and I get out and I look back at the truck, and the entire truck had just been smashed into a ball. It was barely recognizable as a truck, and the only part of the truck that was still intact was the driver's seat where I was sitting. I just could not believe it. I should have died that night. I should have died. So now I have a dilemma. I'm in the middle of this desert. Nobody knows I'm there. It's the middle of the night. And I don't know what to do with myself. I had my telescope in the back of the pickup truck. It had tumbled out on the road. I had my cooler in the back of the truck. It had tumbled out on the road. And so I guess just out of habit, I just start collecting my things and trying to get some order out of the chaos I had just gone through. And does blue cheese ever go old? I mean, it's already blue, right? I'm not going to take any chances. So, as far as I can tell, it took about 20 minutes before a car came by. and it was this old hippie couple. And they went into hippie couple emergency mode when they pulled over. They were like, all right, we're going to help you out before the cops get here. Where's your drugs? Where's your booze? What's your contraband? What's the story we're going to tell them? Let's get this stuff out of sight. And I had to say, you know, I don't have any booze. I don't have any drugs. And I remember the guy, the hippie guy, looked at my truck, and he looked at me, he looked at the truck, and he looked at me, and he was like trying to put it together. Like, how could somebody make such a mess of their vehicle and not be totally high? And when he realized that I was stone sober, he was so disappointed in me. He was like, turned to his wife kind of like, well, okay, and they were a little less enthusiastic after that, you know, like, why did we even bother pulling over to help this square out? Oh, hold on. So, eventually they are able to stop a semi-trailer truck. This semi-trailer truck pulls over. And he gets on the CB and finally calls the police. Well, the police come. You know, they see glass all over the road. They see this mashed up truck next to a cactus. And, you know, I'd only been in Phoenix for a little while, but, you know, they said, well, let's see your driver's license. I still had my Missouri license, you know. I hadn't bothered to get an Arizona license. So they said, well, you know, you've only got 30 days as a resident to get an Arizona license. I said, you know, I'm sorry. I should do that. Okay. He said, well, do you have proof of insurance? Well, gosh, no, you know, funny you should ask that, because, you know, I'd only had the truck a couple of weeks, and I just hadn't quite gotten around to getting it insured yet. And they said, oh, okay, well, can we see your registration? Well, it's, you know, I've been really busy, you know, and I just hadn't quite gotten to the DMV to get it registered yet. Finally, the other officer goes over with his flashlight, shines it on the license plate of my wrecked truck, and he says, you know, these tags are expired. and then the police started laughing, you know, because I had become a ridiculous person. You know, if I had done one less thing wrong, I'd probably still be in some Arizona jail somewhere. But I had done enough things wrong that they just started laughing. And they said, well, you didn't harm anyone's property, so we're just going to give you a $25 ticket for littering, and we'll call a tow truck for you. So the tow truck guy came with a flatbed truck, and to haul the wreck back to Phoenix was, ooh boy, that's old, because I'm getting to the back of the refrigerator now. Yikes. I just signed over the ownership, the title of the truck to the tow truck guy, because that was going to cover the cost of him towing it in. And the hippie couple kind of reluctantly gave me a ride back to Phoenix, and now it's been a few hours, and I'm now sitting in my living room again where the evening started, and I'm thinking, what just happened? You know, a few hours ago I had a nice pickup truck and a nice telescope, and they're gone. Well, let's see, are there any lessons to be learned from this little story? Well, I think there's a few. One is, if you're going to get in an accident, make sure you're really, really high and drunk so that anyone who stops to help you will take you seriously and not judge you. And if you're going to not register your car, make sure you do a bunch of other stuff wrong too, like don't get it insured so that you can eventually make the police officers laugh and you'll get away with a $25 ticket. I think that's what we can take away from this. And maybe the last thing is never, ever go to Arizona, because only bad stuff happens there. And now you know.